Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm here once again to explain to you all about ratio. So, we have here figures with different colors, and let's try to represent this as many ways as we can. Okay, for example, we can represent this according to the number per shape. So, we can say that this can be represented as for every five squares, there are three circles, or we can say for every three circles, there are six triangles. Also, we can say for every six triangles, there are five squares. We can also represent this based on the colors. That we can say for every two yellow squares, there are three blue squares. Or we can say also as for every two yellow circles, there is one blue circle. Okay, these are just some ways we can write the figures or the color. Okay, we can also use compare it as part to the whole. So you can see for every two yellow squares, there are five squares in total. So two is just the part of the total square, and five is the total squares that we have. So it's part and whole. And we can do that also with the other two figures. Ratio is comparing values of two or more objects. And there are ways wherein we can rewrite ratio. We can write ratio using colon or using a fraction. We read this as A is to B. A is to B. So when you represent something, for example, 5 is to 3, we can also write this as a fraction. The first number will be our numerator, and the second number will be our denominator. So we can express ratio as fraction and fraction as ratio. Always remember that order is very important. When we say 3 apples to 2 oranges, we cannot write it as 2 is to 3 because 2 is to 3 represent 2 oranges and 3 apples. Okay, if we say 3 is to 2, this is represented as 3 apples and 2 oranges. That's why position or order of the numbers is very important. And as we said a while ago, we can represent this as a ratio, the ratio as a fraction. So let's have this example. A group of individuals donated some PPEs, masks, and alcohol to the hospital to help the frontliners fight COVID-19. There are 45 boxes of masks, 10 boxes of alcohol, and 10 sets of PPE. How can we write the ratio of the boxes of masks to the boxes of alcohol? Since there are 45 boxes of masks, and 10 boxes of alcohol, we can write the ratio as 45 is to 10. So meaning we write first, okay, the one for the masks, and next is the one for alcohol. Let's proceed to number 2. Given the ratio of the sets of PPEs to the boxes of alcohol to the boxes of masks, how do you write this in form of ratio? Since there are 45 boxes of masks, 10 boxes of alcohol, and 10 sets of PPE, our answer should show the number of sets of PPE first, which is 5. Then the number of boxes, which is 10. And then the number of masks, which is 45. Again, we always say that order is very important. The order of putting values may have a different meaning if we place it on a different position. For the third one, let us give the ratio of the sets of PPE to the total number of boxes of alcohol and masks. To answer this, we have to get the total number of boxes of alcohol and mask first. So we have a total number of the two is 45. Okay, we have 45 for the mask plus 10 for the alcohol. So we have 55. Then we can already express the ratio as 5 for the PPE is to the total number of boxes for alcohol and mask is 55. Let's proceed now to equivalent ratio. Just like equivalent fractions, there are also ratios that are equivalent to each other. In this example, we can represent this in ratio as the number of colors for green and the number of colors for the blue. So we can say that for every 4 stars, there are 8 blue stars. So we count that as 1. Okay, so we can say that it can be represented as 4 is to 8. Aside from 4 is to 8, we can also represent this in groups of 2. So we can say that for the green, you can form 2 groups of 2. So for every 2 groups of 2 for green, there are How many groups of 2 for blue? There are 4 groups of 2. Another way to express this is using or grouping them into 4. So for every one group of 4 for green, there are also 2 groups of 4 for blue. So if you notice, we have 3 answers. We have 1, okay, is to 2. We also have 2 is to 4, and 8, oh sorry, that is 4 is to 8. So all of this is the ratio of the green star to the blue star. So all of these are equivalent ratio. Then, to get a fraction that is similar to 5 over 10, we can multiply or divide a number to the numerator and denominator so that we can get the similar fraction. So we can multiply 5 by 2, so we get 10. If you multiply the numerator by 2, we need also to multiply the denominator by 2, so we get 20. So 10 over 20 is the same as 5 over 10. We can also use other numbers, like by multiplying it by 4, for example. So we get 20 over 40. And again, 20 over 40 is just the same as 5 over 10. But aside from multiplying, we can also divide, because both of them can be divided by 5. When we divide each of them by 5, we'll get 1 over 2. And 1 over 2 is the same as 5 over 10 as well. It is the same for ratio. For us to get the common or equivalent ratio for 5 is to 10, we can either multiply or divide a number to both the first number and the second number in our ratio. So for example, we want to get an equivalent fraction or equivalent ratio for 5 is to 10. We can multiply 5 by 2, so that we'll get 10 is 2. So if you multiply 5 by 2, we also multiply 10 by 2. So we get 20. Then 10 is to 20 is equivalent to 5 is to 10. And it's possible also for us to divide numbers to both. So when we divide 5 by 5, we'll get 1. And when we divide 10 by 5, we'll get 2. So 5 over 10 can be written as 10 is to 20, or 1 is to 2. These are only some of the equivalent fraction of equivalent ratio for 5 is to 10. So how do we simplify ratio? Simplifying ratio is just like simplifying fractions. Let's try an example that we used a while ago. If we have 5 over 10, to simplify, we need to find the greatest common factor of 5 and 10. Okay? And the greatest common factor of 5 and 10 is 5. So we will divide both of them by 5, and that will be 1 over 2. So 1 over 2 is the simplest form of 5 over 10. By doing the same thing for ratio, if we have 15 over 10, we just need to find a number we can divide to both numbers, and that is 5. So by dividing both of them by 5, we'll get 3 is to 2. So 3 is to 2 is the simplest form of 15 is to 10. We can also put ratio or compare quantities with 3, because we said ratio can be comparing 2 or more quantities. So it's possible for us to compare 3 as well. So if we have 21, 7, and 14, we need to find the common factor where we can divide all 3 numbers completely. So we can divide 21, 7, and 14 by what number? So first, we find the factors of each. Factors of 21. We have 1, 3, 7, and 21. Because 1 times 21 is 21. 3 times 21, 3 times 7 is 21 as well. How about for the factors of 7? We only have 1 and 7 for each factor. And lastly, for the factors of 14, we have 1, 2, 7, and 14. And from these factors, let's identify the greatest common. Okay, common is 1, but that's not the greatest. Okay, so we need to find the greatest, and the greatest common is 7. So that is the number we will be dividing to all 3. So when we divide each by 7, 21 divided by 7 is 3. 7 divided by 7 is 1. And 14 divided by 7 is 2. So therefore, 3 is to 1 is to 2 is the simplest form of 21 is to 7 is to 14. Okay. For this one, we have 16 is to 8 is to 12. Let's try to simplify this ratio. Okay, so we try to find the greatest common factor of 16, 8, and 12. For 16, we have 1, 2, 4. Okay, we also have 8 and 16. For 8, 8 can be divided by 1, by 2, by 4, and by itself 8. 12 can be divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. So let's try to find the common factor. If you notice, all of them has 1, but that is not the greatest. They also all have 2, okay, but that is not the greatest. 4, they all have 4. Do you think that's the greatest factor? Okay, yes. So the greatest common factor is 4. But how about 8? Because both 16 and 8 can be divided by 8. Okay, so 8 cannot be the greatest common factor because we said it should be common to all quantities here. But for 12, 12 cannot be divided exactly by 8. So our greatest common factor here is 4. By dividing each number by 4, we get 4 is to 2 is to 3. So this will be the simplest form already. If you notice that there are two quantities here that can still be divided by 2, okay, that is not possible because, as we said, it should be for all quantities or for all numbers, not only for some, but for all. Let's proceed with this word problem. A mobile canteen had some pork to cook for the COVID-19 frontliners. The ratio of the amount of pork cooked for menudo to the amount of pork cooked for lumpiang Shanghai is 4 is to 3. If the amount of pork cooked for menudo is 12 kilograms, how much pork was cooked for lumpiang Shanghai? So we can represent also this in different ways. I will be showing you first how to solve it using the model drawing. Okay, so let us represent first menudo. Okay, and then lumpiang Shanghai. Okay, based on the ratio, menudo is 4 and the lumpia is 3. So we can use model here to represent menudo. We have 4. We can represent with 4 units. And lumpia can be represented using 3 units. We also know that the amount of pork cooked for menudo is 12 kilograms, which means that this is equivalent to 12 kilograms. Let's now try to find the value of each unit. If 4 units is equivalent to 12, then 1 unit is just equal to 12 divided by 4, which is 3. And then to find the number of kilograms that we use to cook for lumpia, because lumpia has 3, okay, has 3 units, we just, to get 3 units, we multiply 3 units by 3, so that is 9, because each unit is equivalent to 3. So there are 9 kilograms of pork we use for the lumpiang Shanghai. In using equivalent ratio, first we write the equivalent ratio properly. So we have here 4 is to 3. And we know that menudo is 12. Take note that 4 represents or corresponds to menudo, so we put 12 first. And we need to find the number of kilograms for the lumpiang Shanghai. And the 3 corresponds to the lumpiang Shanghai, so that is the one that we are trying to find. Step 2 is to find a complete pair. So we need to look at the relationship between the values. So we know from 4 corresponds to 12. So from this, the relationship is that we can multiply 4 by 3 to get 12. Okay, so we can multiply 4 by 3 to get 12. That means we need to apply the same thing to the other quantity. So 4 times 3 is 12. Therefore, we also multiply the second quantity 3 by 3 to get the missing number for our ratio. So 3 times 3 is equivalent to 9. Therefore, we have 9 kilograms of pork used for lumpiang Shanghai. Okay, so I hope this is clear and you were able to learn how to write ratios, how to find equivalent ratio, and how to simplify ratio. That's it for now. Thank you to everyone and goodbye.